It's probably not the way Sean Diddy Combs ever expected to spend his holidays, behind bars in a federal detention center awaiting trial for sex trafficking, among other charges. His time behind bars is a stark contrast from living in multi-million-dollar mansions, flying on a private jet, and eating the finest foods, or at least a home-cooked meal. But as Combs is expected to remain behind bars until his trial in May after being denied bail multiple times, there are some things he could do on Christmas Day. It's not the first holiday Combs is spending behind bars. He spent Thanksgiving there too. Just a day before Thanksgiving, federal judge Arun Subramanian denied the defense's request to release the Bad Boy Records founder on bail. In his ruling, Judge Subramanian wrote the prosecution showed clear and convincing evidence that no condition or combination of conditions will reasonably assure the safety of the community. So instead, Diddy spent Thanksgiving with other detainees, and they were served turkey roast, mashed potatoes, mixed veggies, cranberry sauce, gravy, rolls, and assorted holiday pies. And while Combs presumably is used to spending the Christmas holiday with his friends surrounded by a festive tree, instead he'll continue to be surrounded by other inmates. But he could play dominoes, card games, 3-on-3 basketball, and even soccer. The mogul can also expect a traditional holiday meal, just probably not one prepared by some of the best chefs in the world. According to MDC Brooklyn, the menu for Christmas Day features Cornish hen, mac and cheese, dinner rolls, cranberry sauce, and a holiday dessert. But the lunch menu is reportedly subjected to change. Combs has been behind bars since his arrest on September 16th. Federal prosecutors charged the mogul with sex trafficking, racketeering, conspiracy, and transportation to engage in prostitution, all of which he pleaded not guilty to. But Combs is facing a mountain of legal issues without his federal case. Since November of 2023, he's faced more than 30 lawsuits accusing him of sexual misconduct. Most recently, 3 men filed 3 different lawsuits anonymously accusing the embattled mogul of rape. One of the men claimed he was an errand boy for Combs' Bad Boy Records. He claims Combs raped him in February of 2020 at the Intercontinental Hotel in Times Square. Another John Doe claimed he was drugged and raped in 2019 at an after party at the Park Hyatt Hotel. He claimed when he had a brief moment of consciousness, he saw a man and woman sitting on the bed recording the rape on a camera. Meanwhile, the third alleged victim claimed the Bad Boy Records founder and his associates took turns raping him in the summer of 2020 at Combs' Hamptons home. Combs' attorney denied the most recent claims in a statement saying, "These complaints are full of lies. We will prove them false and seek sanctions against every unethical lawyer who filed fictional claims against him." The only one that's been settled was the one that seemingly opened the floodgates, that being Cassandra Ventura's, which was filed in federal court, then settled a day later. Combs has denied all the allegations made against him. Through his attorneys, they wrote in part, quote, "Mr. Combs has full confidence in the facts and the integrity of the judicial process. In court, the truth will prevail that Mr. Combs never sexually assaulted or trafficked anyone, man or woman, adult or minor." But Combs hasn't been the only famous name in the lawsuits accusing the mogul of rape. Last year, Liza Gardner accused Combs and singer Aaron Hall of raping her when she was just 16 years old. That case is still ongoing, and both men denied all allegations against them, and at the time, Combs called the filing a money grab. Last year, a woman using the moniker Jane Doe filed a lawsuit claiming Combs, former Bad Boy CEO Harv Pierre, and another unknown man sex trafficked and gang raped her when she was just 17 years old. Her identity remained anonymous for nearly a year until an amended complaint was filed naming the Jane Doe as Anna Kane, the wife of a former NHL player. Kane had to refile her lawsuit after a judge ruled that she had to do so in order for her lawsuit to continue. In a statement, Kane wrote, quote, "I had hoped to use a pseudonym in pursuing justice for what happened to me as a teenager. Defendants demand that I use my name was an attempt to intimidate me, but I am not intimidated. I am prepared to proceed and hold accountable those who have harmed me." Combs denied those allegations. In a statement last year, he wrote in part, quote, "Enough is enough. For the last couple of weeks, I have sat silently and watched people try to assassinate my character, destroy my reputation, and my legacy." Harv Pierre also denied the allegations, writing, quote, "This is a tale of fiction. I have never participated in, witnessed, nor heard of anything like this ever. These disgusting allegations are false in a desperate attempt for financial gain." Then this month, another high-profile face was added to a rape lawsuit involving Combs. In October, Texas attorney Tony Busby filed a lawsuit on behalf of a Jane Doe who alleged Combs raped her with another celebrity when she was just 13 years old. In the original filing, Jane Doe claimed this happened at an after-party for the 2000s VMAs. She claimed a driver who worked for Combs told her she fit what Diddy was looking for. Doe claimed she was given a drink at the party that made her woozy, so she lied down in a room, and that's when Combs entered the room with a male celebrity known as Celebrity A and a female celebrity known as Celebrity B. She claims Celeb A removed her clothes and raped her while Combs and the female celebrity watched. Then Combs forced her to perform oral sex on him. Celebrity A and B were unnamed for months until an amended complaint was filed by Busby with Sean Carter, aka Jay-Z's name, attached to the filing. Jay-Z denied and slammed the allegations against him, claiming Tony Busby was extorting him for money, while Busby claimed Carter orchestrated a conspiracy of harassment, bullying, and intimidation to silence the plaintiff from naming Jay-Z. Last week, an attorney for Carter asked the judge to deny a request to allow the plaintiff to remain anonymous or to dismiss the case. But while Sean Carter fights to get his name off that lawsuit, Sean Combs will remain where he's been in MDC Brooklyn, as he might have bigger fish to fry right now, like federal prosecutors, as he could face a lengthy sentence behind bars if he's convicted on the charges. It's Diddy's first Christmas behind bars, which is probably a huge adjustment from how he's previously spent the holiday. Let's bring on now prison consultant Justin Paperny. Justin, great to see you, and thank you so much for joining me today. It's been 3 months since Diddy has been behind bars. In your opinion, how do you think that adjustment's been for him?
It's incredibly difficult. When people go to prison, they want to lay low, get off the grid. But when you're so high profile and a celebrity, and we dissect every move that happens, it's very hard. And it's only amplified during the holiday season, which is a time of togetherness, spending time with family, forgiveness. Instead, he's isolated in this community, probably feeling a great deal of regret and pain. His family is enduring regret and pain. So it's always hard to be in prison, but it is heightened during the holiday season.
Sure. And with that being, with it being the holiday time, we're seeing things for inmates to do on the holiday, being card games, basketball, soccer. But is this really a bright and shiny picture of how it really is behind bars?
They'll do a few things. The prison will do a handful of things during the holiday season to remind you that it's the holiday season, maybe some hot chocolate or a cookie or some donuts and candy. But you're in this sterile, kind of hopeless environment. So despite a few things they do, it doesn't overcome or undo the pain that people feel while being in prison, just the psychological impact of being in prison. And then during the holiday season, separated from your family, it's devastating. And with Diddy, he's not enjoying the basketball, as I understand it, the backhand or the cards. He's enduring time in isolation because of the high profile nature of his case. So if anything, it's harder for him. And I presume we may not hear this from his lawyers who maintain his innocence. I presume he's feeling some regret and probably wishing he could have done some things differently. But as we know in life, do-overs don't exist.
Exactly. And I'm sure going from, mega mansions to, personalized chefs as well too. I'm sure that can be a huge adjustment. And while the meal for Christmas Day kind of sounds appetizing, you have turkey roast, mashed potatoes, cranberry sauce, and all that food sounds good. But do you think the food is going to be as good as it sounds?
It's not as good as it sounds because I've been to prison on a Christmas or Thanksgiving. And so it's a little better. I will tell you what will make it measurably harder for him is everything he did was big. So it wasn't just celebrating Christmas. He did it in the public eye, sharing these shared values of contribution, community, giving back. That was this mantra or image that he tried to create. And now standing for count in prison, isolated, separated from family and community, to many, especially the government, it reaffirms it was all a ruse. He was a charlatan. He was a crook. He was a criminal. So besides being isolated, the idea that this public image he had worked for decades to build is crumbling in front of him, it is devastating, which is just why the psychological impact of being in prison is hard, especially during the holidays. And no good meal, I can tell you from experience, is going to remove or it's not going to remove any of the pain that he's feeling. It may feel good for a few minutes, but that's it.
And I've been in the courthouse a few times for Diddy's court hearing. And from what I've seen, he's been very slimmed down. He has lost a tremendous amount of weight from the videos that we had seen of him, even over the summer right before he was arrested. So he's slimmed down. He has grayed tremendously. What do you think, has been attributed to his slimmer look, being that he is locked up? I'm sure there's not a lot of things for him to do, but are you surprised that he's lost that amount of weight?
I'm not surprised he's lost a lot of weight. Most people lose weight. The stress of the environment alone, sleeping less, eating less, not having luxuries that we could take for granted so easily in the community, all of those factors alone are going to compel someone to lose weight pretty easily. I mean, you might not have the best appetite, even if he could eat. So it's very common for people to go to prison and eat or lose weight. Now, of course, some people can put on weight because if you're shopping in the commissary, there's cookies, there's ice cream, there's junk food, heavily processed stuff. But it doesn't surprise me that he's lost weight, could be dealing with some depression, and it's very common. The longer that people are in, the more weight actually they tend to lose. And then unfortunately, as soon as they come home, I will tell you, most people tend to put that weight right back on.
Yeah, it truly is kind of a stark contrast from what we've seen months before and then now to now. And oftentimes I think when we see prison shows, we think of, a pod boss who's running the show. Do you think that's the case we're seeing of Diddy, being that he is so famous? Do you think that he's getting special treatment possibly from other inmates or detainees?
I think some inmates or guards could try to help him or influence him or give him some niceties that other prisoners might not get. But I think there's great risk for them because security cares about institution. They do not need any more problems. So I can assure you, memos, there are investigations going on in these prisons, several organizations looking into these prisons. So there is a great deal of scrutiny. So staff, if they value their job, I can assure you, aren't going to cross the line. And if he's smart, it would be in his interest to not take these niceties because if, God forbid, he's convicted, he's going to want to get the shortest sentence. If he pleads guilty, which might be insane, he's going to want the shortest sentence. What he does in prison to build a record can influence a sentencing judge, right? What he does today, is he reading, is he writing, is he contributing, or is he causing trouble? These are all factors the government will consider, a federal judge will consider, I assure you, because we've interviewed federal judges at a sentencing hearing. So he's got to lay low. If he says family is his highest value, and proving worthy of their love and support, he will not succumb to temptation and take advantage of things that could make his life a little better because it would be to his long-term detriment, a longer federal prison sentence.
And yeah, Combs has also been wanting bail since he was arrested. That's not really surprising at all here. But are you surprised, though, that 3 different federal judges all said no and that he has to stay there until trial?
I am not surprised at all. I'm surprised that some people held out hope. When the government alleges of witness tampering and your family's putting out Instagram posts to potentially influence the jury, they allege post-offense conduct of obstructing the investigation. His odds of getting bail were very low had he done everything perfectly. But when the government alleges you're engaging in criminal conduct, they're going to say he's a menace in the prison. Imagine what he would continue to do in the community. So I'm telling you, someone once said to me, I think he's going to get bail. I said, who have you been talking to? No chance, 0. It's not coming.
And also, there's been a lot of back and forth between the federal prosecutors and Diddy's attorneys about the trial prep and how he isn't getting access to things that he needs ahead of his trial in May. But I want to ask you, what is trial preparation like for detainees in a federal detention center?
So I'm not a lawyer, but of course, we've had many people in our community, white collar advice, in prison pending a sentencing or a trial date. It's harder because you don't have access to the phone or email that you would like. The government would say you should have thought about that before you obstructed justice, and that's why you're being held in custody. But you're able to visit with your lawyers on approved days. He'll be alone with his lawyers for hours at a time, going through trial prep, hundreds of files, but it's not 24 hours a day. And while he has legal paperwork and he's in a cell and he's preparing, it's different than immediately being able to pick up the phone and call the lawyer and say, let's do this. So it is really constrained inside of that environment, despite having multiple opportunities to visit with his lawyers and prepare for trial. It's harder. The government knows that it's harder. They will continue to use that as an excuse. If he loses, one of the excuses you can expect them to say is, it was harder for us to prepare for trial because he was in custody. This is something the government set up. They'll continue to play it wasn't our fault card. It always seems to be everybody else's fault. And the lawyers, I will tell you, have done a pretty good job of getting that message across. And some people accept it. And of course, some don't.
Exactly. And, I want to go back to something you had mentioned earlier in our discussion about the emotional and mental toll it's probably that being behind bars is probably taken on Combs right now. I want to go back to, when I was in those court hearings and stuff like that, I noticed kind of this wave of confidence that Diddy kind of exudes when he enters the courtroom. And I thought that was particularly interesting in the sense that he has been behind bars for months now, likely didn't think that he would be in this position ever in his life. But what do you think he is trying to portray by appearing so jovial and confident when he's in these court hearings? Do you think it's just because a lot of eyes are on him, especially us as reporters?
I like that he's doing that. I think his family's watching. He has children. I have said when you visit in prison, you can fake it through email. You can fake it when you call home, but your family knows when they visit if you're doing it. Are you disheveled? Are you angry? Are you mad? Are you happy? Are you depressed? So I like that if you can call it a front, fake it to make it, so to speak. But I like that he's been strong and smiling in front of the family. It's clear that he loves them, that he's thinking of them, and he may be conveying a message to them that we are going to prevail. This is temporary. But despite all the criticism that's come his way, and I've thrown some of it myself, I like the confidence he's showing in front of his family. And I'm sure if anything, it makes them feel better. And they can answer this question. He's okay. He's getting through it, and he's going to continue to get through it. So I like that.
He's probably definitely putting on a brave face, especially for his youngest daughters, the twins, as well as his daughter's Chance. And then he has that 2-year-old daughter as well, too. Justin Perperny, I want to thank you so much for your insight into this. Before we sign you off, though, is there any type of advice you would share to Combs?
It's never too late to begin making better decisions. At some point, if he wants to say, I want to get out of federal prison at some point, if he can introspect and try to understand the government's version of events and say, I don't agree with everything, but I agree with some of it. And if he could accept some responsibility, negotiate some plea agreement that could get him out of there at some point, it will be better for him, for victims, for his family. Too many defendants double down. They continue to exacerbate their struggles. And in the end, they get longer sentences. They deal with a great deal of regret while they serve that longer sentence. So I would say what I tell every defendant immersed in a government investigation: today's the best day to begin preparing and making better decisions.
All right, Justin, again, thank you for the excellent insight and analysis into this. I appreciate your time today.
Thank you again.
Sean Diddy Combs again has pleaded not guilty to all the charges against him and has denied all the accusations made against him in the various lawsuits. His high-profile federal trial is slated for May 5th of next year. Reporting for Law and Crime, I'm Elizabeth Millner.